We each have a sense of our own identity, a story we tell ourselves about ourselves. But sometimes those stories are wrong. Sometimes God changes them. Sometimes He challenges them and redirects our life down unexpected paths. To live by faith is to allow yourself to be redirected by Him. We all make plans. We have plans for the day and upcoming weeks. Some people even have 5-year plans. But perhaps one thing more certain than our planning is those plans being interrupted. We may plan our life, but life is often a story of unexpected interruptions. At times, those interruptions are challenges, and sometimes they are unexpected joys. But many interruptions test our ability to trust God. By faith, we learn to embrace life's interruptions as the place God so often does miraculous things. We learn to respond with compassion and faith when things seem impossible. In the ancient world, most women didn't go to the well alone in the middle of the day. But that's exactly where Jesus encountered one Samaritan woman. Nothing about her conversation went as she expected. She was surprised that Jesus, a Jewish man, would even strike up a conversation with her, a Samaritan woman. She was even more surprised when Jesus knew about her series of broken marriages and relationships. Perhaps her life had not gone as she had hoped or expected, but the complexity of her situation was largely why she was there that day alone. There were so many moments in their conversation when she could have walked away, possibly even offended or annoyed by him. But something about Jesus kept her talking and wondering. Soon, their conversation turned from water to worship, and slowly she began to realize that Jesus was unlike anyone she had ever met. Eventually, Jesus offered her an explanation as simple and direct as He does anyone else in Scripture. Jesus explained, "I am the Messiah." She left that well and went back into her town, excitedly telling everyone about Jesus and compelling them to come with her, to meet Him for themselves. This woman went from arriving at that well alone to leading her whole town back to it. At the beginning of that day, she seemed to be avoiding people. Now she moved through the streets, speaking to anyone who would listen. John records that many Samaritans from that village believed in Jesus because of what the woman said. One moment alone, the next an evangelist to her whole town. One conversation with Jesus redirected her whole life, her whole identity. It rewrote the story of who she was and where she was going. We have been talking about the frequency of interruptions in life. But those interruptions are not always people in need. Sometimes Jesus Himself interrupts us to redirect us. He interrupts us to challenge our identity and the conclusions we've drawn. He interrupts us to change us and send us back to that same old place with a new word, a new story, a new life. But that takes a willingness to receive. You might remember when Jesus interrupted Paul's life. Paul had been a persecutor of Christians until he encountered Jesus on the road to Damascus. Soon he found himself following instead. Paul later remembered Jesus' words to him, "It is useless for you to fight against my will." Paul had been fighting it. The woman at the well was ignoring it. We do it too. We kick and fight against the work God is doing in us. We're reluctant to give up control, reluctant to trust Him, reluctant to have our plans interrupted and changed. Following Jesus always means giving Him control of your identity, your story. We allow Jesus to redirect our life, sometimes in radically different directions, but always for better things. How willing are you to accept His redirections in your life?